Hello, this is David, and we're going to go into chapter two right now. Chapter two from your Essentials book. Now, I'm going to go slowly with this. I'm going to back up because the font is going to be very small in this video, so please bear with me. Um, in your book, physical fitness is actually there are actually more than five components, so we're going to go into those in a little bit. Physical fitness is actually defined as a set of attributes needed to help the human body perform daily activities. So, specifically, exercise, physical activity, things of that nature. Now, one thing I do want you to know is that the difference between physical fitness and performance is that performance is really geared towards the athlete, whereas fitness is for your everyday man or woman. We all need fitness regardless of whether we're athletes or not. Now, here are the components. So I'm going to go slowly with this. Move up a little closer. We have the first one's called body composition. And body composition has to do with the ratio of fat mass to fat free mass. Again, ratio of fat mass to fat free mass. So, in layman's term, you're trying to be height weight proportionate. And as I'm going down, these are the assessment tools. Now, when we're talking later about assessment tools, you're going to need these in order to determine someone's body composition. So you can't really eyeball them and say, okay, well, you know what, you're skinny, therefore you're in tip-top condition. No, that isn't the case. Okay, so these are the assessment tools we're looking at. One of them is called, I'm going to go ahead and point a little closer. This is called BMI, which stands for, of course, as you can see, Body Mass Index. So how can we calculate that? So in the classroom, we're going to actually calculate BMI. The next one is BIA, which of course stands for bioelectrical impedance analysis. So in layman's terms, it's body fat analysis. And it's that little gadget that the body fat analyzer is that little white gadget with the sensors on it. And it sends electrical currents through muscle to detect um, fat versus muscle percentage. The next one is weight height. I'm sorry, WHR, of course, you can see stands for weight to hip ratio. So we take circumferences using the measuring tapes. Now, the other two here are really a little bit more complicated. However, they are based on what's called the Archimedes principle. The Archimedes principle pertains to air or water being displaced by a human being's mass. Okay, and the bod pod, as opposed to underwater wing, which is quite obvious, bod pod has more to do with using air to determine someone's body composition. Whereas, of course, underwater wing you submerge a person into water, and that can also tell us how much fat versus muscle a person has. Okay, so that's body composition. The second one here is flexibility. Okay, of course, encased in the green highlighter. Okay, now the definition for this one, it's going to back up. Definitely not a good photographer. It pertains to the joint range of motion. And one tool we will use later on Saturday is a sit and reach test. A sit and reach test tells us how flexible a person is in terms of the joints. Okay, now the next one we have here is muscular strength. Muscular strength is defined as the ability to exert force onto an object within a certain single effort. Okay, so if a person constantly has to pick up something, chances are he or she isn't really as strong as we think they are. All right, so now I'm going to go back a little bit because you got to know the concept behind the muscular strength part. Now, in biology, we have what's called hyperplasia. Hyperplasia, if you look at the PLAS, that basically means cell. Okay, and don't think, hey, you're bouncing off the walls type of hyper. No, we're talking about having too many of a particular object. So in this case, you have an increase in the number. Please make sure when you see PLAS and later on you're going to see TROPH, trough, they're in two entirely different concepts. So hyperplasia has to do with an increase in the number of muscle cells, whereas here hypertrophy has to do with an increase in the size of muscle tissue. So please make sure you know that. The reason why I want you to know the concept is because when you have a group of muscle cells together make up, of course, tissue. Okay, so please know that. If you've ever seen the movie Baby's Kids, and you see all these kids together, they're strong in numbers, but if you have maybe two or three of them, they're not quite as strong. So when the the mantra in the movie was, hey, we don't die, we multiply. Well, think about it this way. When you multiply, you become stronger in numbers. So the strength comes from the number of cells, which together make up the tissue, and we have a really big increase in tissue, especially lean body tissue, in layman's term, muscle, of course. Then you're able to produce force, and force, the greater amount of force means, hey, you got a lot of strength. All right, so that's a pretty nice thing to have. All right, we're going to go ahead and cut it here, and then we're going to go right into the second part of chapter 2. So bear with me as we continue.